You ever stop and wonder if there are people out there who just don't feel anything? At least, not the way we do. People who look at someone else's pain and see a game. Who see other human beings not as people, but as playthings. The most terrifying part? They often look just like you and me. So let's pull back the curtain and look at what's really behind that smiling mask. It's a really unsettling thought, isn't it? We're kind of taught to look for these obvious warning signs, a monstrous look. But the truth, and this is what we're going to dive into, is that the real monsters are very often the ones smiling at you, shaking your hand, the ones earning your trust.
This right here, this is the key insight from criminologist Christopher Berry-Dee, who spent his career interviewing some of the world's most brutal killers. And for them, it's not really about anger or hate, not in the way we understand it. It's about manipulation. It's about control. It's this cold, detached curiosity. People just become objects for their own entertainment.
So the big question is, how do they get so close? How do they pull it off? Well, they wear something that experts call the mask of sanity. Think of it as a perfectly made disguise of complete normality that hides this profound emptiness on the inside. Let's look at a couple of terrifyingly good examples. Okay, take a guy like Colonel David Russell Williams. On the surface, this man was the absolute pillar of his community. A high-ranking, decorated military officer. A guy known for his immense discipline, respected, even admired by pretty much everyone who knew him. He was literally the last person anyone would ever suspect of anything. And that's what makes this case such a horrifying example of how effective that mask can be. Because behind the pristine uniform and all the awards was a monster responsible for just unspeakable crimes. His public image wasn't just a part of his life. It was a weapon, a tool he used to move around completely undetected. And then you have someone like Neville Heath. He was another master of this kind of deception. We're talking back in the 1940s. He was the picture of a charming, noble gentleman. People felt completely safe with him. They were just drawn to his charisma. They had no way of knowing that his charm was actually the bait in a trap. So how do they do it? What's the mechanism behind the mask? It's a predatory skill, and it's called emotional mimicry. Now, this isn't acting like you and I think of it. It's more like studying. They study us. They learn the right facial expressions, the right comforting words to say, even the right way to cry, and then they just replicate it flawlessly. The source material uses this really powerful analogy. An emotional chameleon. It's perfect, right? They change their emotional colors to blend into any social situation they're in. They can seem loving or sorry or happy, all on command. But behind that performance, there's just a void. Nothing. No fear, no guilt, no love. But here's the thing. This isn't just some psychological trick. It's not just about being a good actor. It's a biological reality. The difference between them and us seems to be hardwired right into their brains. So if they aren't feeling what we're feeling, then what is going on in there? Well, modern science can actually give us a window into their minds now. And what we're seeing is a really profound structural difference. I want you to meet the amygdala. In a typical brain, think of this part as like command central for our core emotions. It's what makes your heart pound when you're scared. It's what allows you to feel another person's pain, empathy, and it's what drives us to connect with each other. It's our internal alarm system. Okay, so here's the twist. In the psychopathic brain, researchers have found that this alarm system is underdeveloped, it's underactive, really, for all intents and purposes, it's broken. So when they see something that would horrify us, a violent scene, someone in agony, their amygdala just doesn't light up. The alarm bell simply doesn't ring. And the consequences of that are just chilling. This quote, it comes from an interview with a killer who had a completely normal, loving childhood. No abuse, nothing. When he was asked why he did it, his answer wasn't about rage or revenge. It was simple, cold curiosity. The moral breaks that we all have, he just didn't. Or how about this one? This really shows you that deep detachment. An educated, intelligent killer described his horrific acts not as crimes, but as a form of artistic expression. To him, human lives were just a medium for his so-called art. The cruelty was the whole point. So, knowing all this, can you imagine what happens when you sit across a table from a person like this? What is it actually like to confront that kind of mindset face to face? Well, It's not a conversation. It's a battle.
Yeah, criminologists who do these interviews, they describe it as a high-stakes psychological duel. The whole time, the psychopath is constantly analyzing you, looking for any weakness, testing your boundaries, and trying to grab control of the entire situation from the very first second. Understanding their tactics is so important. They'll often start with this intense, unblinking stare. It's designed to unsettle you, to dominate you. Then they might test you, maybe pretend to be sorry, tell you a sob story just to see if you're gullible. And if they sense an opening, they'll use that same emotional mimicry to build a fake connection, to make you feel like you're on their side. And this is one of the most important things to ever remember. If a psychopath cries, it is an act of pure self-pity. They are not crying for the lives they've destroyed. They're not crying for the pain they've caused. They are crying because they got caught, because their game is over, because they lost. And that really brings us to their ultimate motivation. Everything they do, the charm, the manipulation, the violence, it all serves one single purpose: to have absolute power and control over another human being. For a mind that feels nothing else, that is the ultimate thrill. Now look, understanding this dark corner of human psychology, it isn't about scaring you. It's about building awareness. Because knowledge in this case is quite literally your shield. So what are the big takeaways here? Well, remember that true danger, it rarely ever announces itself. It often wears a friendly face. You have to understand that charisma and charm can be a very calculated weapon. And maybe most importantly, learn to trust people's consistent actions, not just their flattering words. We're going to leave you with this final thought. That mask of sanity is so effective because deep down, we want to believe that the people around us are good. And so protection really starts with having the courage to look past that mask and pay attention to what might be hiding underneath. Stay aware and stay safe.